tractor beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit
it. What is up, everyone? We got another unboxing. We did one last night. Now we got another one coming, and this is a special one. This is one that it kind of just happened to work out for Chris and Jason. Were able to stop by, which is really cool. Regal Robot to pick these amazing Salacious Crumbs up. So
I can't tell you how
it's something
awesome.
new. I mean, this was
crazy.
If I may.
Go ahead. And we got Tom. We got Tom
This
Speen
is something
on.
different, So normally, when we have something that we've worked on for months and stuff like that goes live and people can order it, it's usually then several months later for people to start to see it.
Yeah. Right.
And in this case, where we were approached ahead of time about doing this as a custom project, we're able to actually put a handful of them into people's hands,
right,
just in time for people to actually order it. And it kind of is one of these things like, maybe this isn't what it should be, because I always feel bad. We get, everybody shows off their CC3 or their Rancor or their Tauntaun, whatever, and it's usually after the thing's sold out for months.
Right.
And, everybody who's watching, it's like, oh, well, that's nice, but what do I do?
Yeah.
So here's like this one time where, hey, wow, you know what? People are going to get to see this thing. And then in a couple of weeks on, August 24th, this is going to go up for sale. And
it's pretty amazing.
So everybody gets a chance at it. So that's cool.
So Tom, just out of curiosity, I know a lot of pieces, you have pieces that are made to order, pieces that become edition pieces. Some of those edition pieces, for example, like a CZ3 was once initially commissioned, but is this the first time that a commission project is able to be seen and showcased prior to the actual release date?
Yeah, and it kind of came out of us realizing what normally happens with these. And we said, okay, so when we go to do our photo master and our prototype and our samples for Lucasfilm and Disney and all of that stuff, what if we take, these guys who commissioned it? We had Lee Batten, who was dying to get a Salacious Crumb, and we used to talk about this all the time. And he really sparked this thing. But then it was, you and Chris and Matt and Gabe, all came in, and it was like, well, you know what? Here's not just these guys who are getting it, who were part of this group that really sparked this thing to come into being in the first place, but also now have the capacity to show them to folks.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wow, you know what? If we can do a little mini production run of these, then we can actually put real production pieces made by the same people who are making all the rest of them into people's hands that can now show them to folks. And
pretty cool.
I'm actually kind of excited about it just as an idea. Like, maybe this is something we do in the future where we, pick a few people to get things out. I know, it doesn't always make sense. I know, like, with the way that we're doing production on the chess pieces, because there's all these different characters, it doesn't necessarily make sense. But maybe there's other times in the future where we're going to do this. Let's see how this works out, I guess.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, no,
I
think it's great.
It's a great idea. I mean, I think it's really cool for people to see other people with the thing in their hand, and us to be able to talk about it as collectors and say, man, this thing, look at this, look at that, look at, like, this is what you're going to get.
You'll see the scale of it that's across in photos. You'll see the detail that doesn't come across in the photos. The toughest thing we do in our job is photographing stuff.
Of course.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, and
it's
Tom,
really tough.
What's interesting too is the piece changes in someone's collection.
Yes.
Like, you guys take photos of it on white, and Sideshow does the same thing. They take photos of it by itself, and we put it in our collection and take photos of it with other things, and it changes it.
It takes on a different life. 100%.
It does.
Really, really good point. Really good point.
And that's just cool for other people to see, because this may not fit or may not be what other people want in their collection. It's probably going to be what some people really want, and it may change their mind to see some of that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, Traveling Jedi says I volunteer to unbox the next thing.
All the DMs.
That's funny.
Another volunteer.
It's crazy.
I feel like we're gonna get a few of those.
Another person won a raffle.
Yes, that's right.
You know what else?
Ken's raffle that he keeps winning.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And luckiest guy, right? That guy constantly winning raffles.
You know what? You know what's also good is that it's in our hands. We can describe it. We can see all the little cool things about it, and like those are hard to come across in pictures as well. Like you can't hands on a person's opinion or view of it, and review of it is just. It's priceless. Like
it's funny. I actually almost begged off coming on tonight because I don't want to make like I'm influencing the review at all.
No, you've mentioned that before, and we don't
have to.
I did get to see Chris's initial. I didn't catch Jason's full reaction, but I did get Chris's full reaction today.
There was a lot more going on. I had another project there that kind of caught my attention. It's always a little overwhelming, but
it's so cool.
But Chris's reaction was pretty cool, and it was definitely genuine. You know, like in person, that first sight thing is there's no faking that. You know. That was definitely awesome.
The other thing you miss is when we're walking out and we're pinching each other. You know?
I heard something. I didn't realize that's what it was. I heard like giggling and like, well, it sounded like a couple of schoolgirls.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people know, Tom, you're sending. So Jason and Chris were able to pick these up.
Yes.
The rest of us are waiting. We will get ours in, what do you say, a week or so ish?
Yeah, basically so about a week. They're all done. This initial group. The two that they picked up, we just did a quick wrap on in a loose box so they can drive them home.
Yeah.
You guys are getting yours hand wrapped, double wall box, some foam lining. And that's just because we haven't done the production run yet. And when we do the production run, we're actually having custom cut, die cut foam for it. So it'll be white EPS foam, die cut to shape for the arms, the legs, the ears, the body, the tail. Everything on this guy is removable.
Yeah, stuff comes apart. And
it all pegs in or screws in. And they're going to assemble theirs live. Hopefully.
Which Tom was like, you're actually going to do this live?
Yeah, I was totally expecting them to have it all together and just in the background, you know.
No.
But also too, just to rehash quickly with the packaging, so people know, as you stated, we picked them up. So this isn't a lot of misconceptions that it's just a little bit of, you know, paper or bubble wrap. It was by design that it was lightly.
And even the first 4 that are getting shipped, it's going to be all hand wrapped. Same size box as the final will come in, but not that custom cut insert because those are all being done at the same time. And that's going to.
And let's make sure people understand. You asked us, Tom.
Yes, I did notify everyone. I gave everyone the option.
You gave everyone the option to wait until, for a while until you have the actual boxes in or get it sooner and have it wrapped as it is. And, no one wants to wait. And so everyone's like, send it.
The good thing is, every part of him comes off. His arms are solid resin. His legs are solid resin. The tail is solid resin.
Yeah.
The ears come off. Once he's broken into all of these parts, it's not quite the same as when you have something that's a beast that has to be fairly seamless.
Yeah.
And it also lets him go in a flatter, smaller box, which, fingers crossed, gets handled a little better than a giant box in the hands of the shippers.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, and this is as we go, we adjust, we learn, and we try and keep things moving in the right direction. And
of course.
The cooler thing about this, I mean, yes, it's going to ship in an insert. That's pretty cool. But I think the cooler thing is how he looks once he goes all together. It's even things like making those ears removable. We did little custom wrinkles around each ear so that it's
so cool.
Very minimal seam and stuff like that. And I'm excited for people to see these go together.
And the hair covers some of that too. And
the hair covers the arm seams totally. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And before we get into everything, if everyone could do us a favor, hit the like button or the dislike button. Either one works for us.
And subscribe, or is that what the kids say?
Yeah, sure. If you want to subscribe, I mean, but yeah, we appreciate the support, everyone. And if anybody in the chat has questions, we'll be watching the chat. Just at least I will, and just let us know if you have any questions for Tom or Chris or Jason. So yeah, guys, go ahead, hop into it.
All right, now Matt and I are going to sit awkwardly. Do we have to like look down? Are we all in the same configuration?
You got to look at their box. You got to look at their
like kind of like
yeah. We got to look down at their box as they're talking. No, I'm excited to see how this thing goes together. Like, this is kind of cool.
So I'll kind of narrate a little bit. So it looks like, is this a race? Okay, so Chris is coming out of the gate. So Chris is unwrapping the base.
Right.
Well,
let's see this. Let's see this real quick.
There we go. We've gotten to the COA. As with all of our stuff now, we're doing the 8x10 photo or 8.5 by 11 photo with just the basic very minimal kind of co-brand on there, and then the hand signed.
What a strange creature.
He really is.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Was Jabba's right-hand bird, as Mark Hamill says from Star Wars: The Jedi.
What did Gordon? How did he come up with this design? Like, was he going off was he trying to go like a bird or like a parrot?
He said, he said he was trying to do like a bird and a monkey or something like that, or and I mean, he got there, you know. So the base there that Chris has, that was hand carved by Patrick Louis at our shop, and then it was cast. Each one of those is resin.
That's so cool.
I mean, look at that
The
leather.
tops have a layer of faux suede and faux leather on top. Each of those gets distressing with paint and obviously the funky cutout, so it looks like the leather hides that are sitting on Jabba's dais. And of course, Jabba's asymmetrical tattoo, hand carved into the stone by Pat. Everything here intentionally rough and disheveled. You know, we tried to capture the feel of Jabba's dais without saying this is Jabba's dais. You know what I mean? This is the softer rounding on the verticals. It's the harder edging on the horizontal edges. And it's that coloration, the multiple layers of staining and stuff like that capture that. And of course, the little leather bits was something that I've really felt strongly about from the beginning. I didn't want to duplicate the pillow that Sideshow did. We tried to really keep this unique from that. We wanted a unique pose. We knew we had Tony sculpting, which was great, but we wanted to push for the puppet. You know, Sideshow's one is beautiful. It's one of my favorite things Sideshow ever did. It was one of the things I saw so we used to work for Sideshow. We used to do, sculpting and stuff. Yeah. give him some hair fluffing. Yeah, those good damn.
Easy.
So real quick, Matt, if you want to just go back to the, so I just want to show you guys. So as you can see, we got 1, 2,
the pegs,
3, 4. Yep, and it looks like the fur lists specifically in this spot.
Correct.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a lip, which was well designed.
Oh, that's cool.
And the ears. So on the bottom here, you have the Lucasfilm, and then this will be the access point 1, 2, 3 to be able to peg in the part. So I'm going to work on that now.
That is awesome.
Which is very easy to do.
I'll talk a little more about that sculpt too. You know, Tony is an absolutely brilliant sculptor. So Tony McVeigh sculpted this for us. He sculpted Salacious for the movie. He actually, really envisioned the character because this wasn't in the initial offering. There wasn't really much of a maquette. I don't think there was a maquette at all for him, actually. He was initially intended to be Effantmon's sidekick. And there are pictures of Effantmon with him, like kind of in the crook of his arm or on his shoulder. And the initial idea was that these were going to be a pair. And he just started to steal the show, and they decided to promote him to, Jabba's number 2 there, whatever you want to call him.
There's some solo screen time.
That's interesting to hear because you got to put into consideration what if it never made that change and he still
he would have just been some little background character that maybe got. I mean, how much screen time does Effantmon have? Almost nothing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, it's
as
like
amazing as that creature looks, by the way. That's an insane build.
When you
so
build
when you look at all when you look at all the
Everyone wants me to start laughing like Salacious. I'm like, I can't do that.
You know what?
I hurt my mouth, hurt my throat.
I'm more likely to drift into the Tim Rose behind the scenes stuff, like hello in TV land. Like, hey Edgar, what'd you bring me to a place like this for? Like that. We have been saying hey Edgar around the studio for months because of this thing.
Okay.
Cece says she loves the top. The leather effect looks really great.
Thank you, Cece.
Yep, looks really nice.
And just for those who don't know, it's Coach leather, right? Right, Tom?
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like Louis Vuitton.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just buy the most expensive bags I can find and cut them up. Yeah. Well, you know what's really funny is we do this sort of thing all the time where we're like, oh yeah, and then we'll cut a piece of leather on the top, and that's like, no, we should make it 2 layers. It's like, oh, and we should distress them with spray and stuff like that. And then we got to go out, and then you got to hunt down the fabrics, and then you do it, and then you realize like, oh, I have to now cut 300 pieces of leather and spray all of them.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so there you go. That's one of the legs going on.
That's awesome.
Do they have all the same pattern?
What's that?
Does the leather all have the same pattern?
Yes.
Okay.
They are all going to be. We actually are paying to have them mechanically cut. One of the companies we work with that does custom fur for us also has a plotter cutter now, and so it was one of these things where we had to balance out like what would be the cost of us doing it by hand here versus having them do it, and it definitely worked out in the favor of having them do it, but it's definitely not cheap.
So Tom, someone was asking real quick, what secures him to the base? And you guys made it specifically so you can put on and off the base, correct?
Correct. I wanted this to be so if somebody wants, they could even turn this base around. If they don't like the Java symbol on there, or they decide that the way it sits in the room, he needs to be facing this way, because that happens to me all the time. I'll get something, and it's why we do like the posable heads on the bigger Chewbacca busts. Because you might have it in a place in the room, and where if we had him looking straight ahead, he's staring off at corner, or he's not, interacting with the other stuff you have. So I wanted people to be able to move him around, and in order to move him around, because of the way his legs sit, he's not central on that base. The base would have had to have been much bigger if he was centrally located on it. So if we had like a single peg, there you go, nice big feet on that guy.
Yeah, look at that. That's look at the wrinkles on him, dude. That's fantastic.
So can you show the top of the foot? So this is stuff when Tony did the original, that stuff right on top of like the instep of the foot there, to me are like those key wrinkles, the stuff right over there, where we tried to match where all those wrinkles are, at least all the major ones we could. That is that look of fabricated foam and latex that you get when you're doing a piece like this. On something like this, the head gets sculpted. Yeah, he's substantial.
Look at the toenails too. The toenails are fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, they've got to be dirty. You got to have the muck and grime and the streaks. The whole idea is that this puppet, the head was sculpted, but then the rest of him is a fabricated thing. So Tony clay sculpted this to look like fabricated slip latex and cotton and things like that, which, let me tell you, as a sculptor, is one of the toughest things to do, and he knocked it out of the park. Even just the subtle stuff on the inside of that leg that Chris is holding there. If you look at along the thigh, there are all these little subtle folds and things like that that just look like if you took crepe paper and got it wet and wrapped it around something. That's the look of fabricated skin on something like that. That's really how this puppet looks. And Tony nailed that look on this stuff. I'm so proud of what he did.
I really like the matte finish on it.
Thank you.
That's the one thing I took notice when I was looking at it earlier. It's just like it looks like real skin. Well, like a puppet skin, but it's really flat.
Well, and it makes the gloss on his beak pop, and it makes the gloss of a glass eyes pop. And the glass eyes have a bit of depth to them. They're not just a round thing that's painted and glossed over. And that makes a difference. That gives this thing life that it doesn't get otherwise.
So as we're assembling this,
almost
we'll soon be getting one. I just wanted to note, or Tom, maybe you can help me go with this. So we started off with the the right leg, the bent leg, right,
Mm-hmm.
the one that's at an angle, and then I went with the left leg after that. So is that specific? Like, should it go right, left, tail, or is there really no?
I would definitely say both legs and then the tail. I don't know that
tail.
there's necessarily one. I like doing the right leg first because it's the smaller leg. It's more compact to him. And I feel like his left leg sticks out further, so it just gets in the way. And you can, make sure those are nice and snug, and then you can move on to the tail. I like to do the arms once he's got the legs in and seated. And then I like to do the ears last.
Tom, what's the total weight on this guy?
Ooh,
like
I don't have it on
the dimension?
Ballpark 15 pounds or 16 pounds.
Okay.
Base. And he is fairly substantial. Each of the legs weighs a couple of pounds because they're solid resin. Mm-hmm. The body has a good weight to it. When you have the legs and the tail on, thank you, Rob. When we have the legs and the tail on, he really is well situated wherever you sit him. And I want people to be able to put this on a shelf, on the base, facing whatever direction they want. That's why we didn't peg him into the base. I didn't want to nail people down in a single way like that. We also left that tail removable because not everybody is going to have space to have a big tail coming out of the back of them. Mm-hmm. And our tail pose is based loosely on the pose he has where he's in front of Jabba with a little bit of a change. But there's actually times in the movie where you can see his tail looks like it's sewn to the back of his collar to hold it up and in the air. So we did one of these poses where the tail comes up and around and just goes past the back of the collar, real snug to the body. I didn't want this thing to take up tons of room, any more than it needed to. But that tail had to have that long monkey tail look like he's got. Here's Jason showing some of the airbrushing on the back. You can see the tail coming up and around.
The tail hugs the back. Yep.
Yeah, it just hugs that hunchback that he's got. And if you can, I don't know how well you can see the joint there, but it snugs up pretty well with the body. And as you tighten those screws up, it snugs up pretty good.
That's some nice paintwork on the back of that guy too. Look at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
And once they peg in, I gotta say, sorry, Tom. Once they peg in,
look at this.
The concern of the seams, or if anybody has any concern of the seams,
Tom's really good at selling this. I love it.
Tom just likes what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got a really good aesthetic with the look of a puppet. So if anybody's concerned about visible seams, it's the last thing I would be concerned about, honestly.
You know what? It's a good point when you say the aesthetic of the puppet, because the real puppet has these very sort of visible joints going on. It was clearly klooched together, to use like typical effects guy language. And all of those elements were separate and put together. So those joints have the feel of that. We did some hooding. So if you look at like where the legs go in, where the tail goes in, there are some wrinkle hoods that we kind of made so that, when it goes in, it's minimized, especially once he's upright. I don't know what kind of exam uses a screwdriver, but
exactly.
And when you're talking about the paint on these, it's a combination of hand paint and airbrush. I always find to make something look Star Wars, you can't just do airbrush. Even if, a lot of times production stuff on Jedi especially had a lot of airbrush on it. You still need to put those washes on. You still need to do the dry brushes. You got to get in there by hand and do some streaking and some staining, or else it doesn't feel real. Oh, Sean Solo, did he win the raffle?
He won. I think he did win the raffle. Yeah.
How nice. But that's so we do that first so that the piece has some depth, so the skin has some realism, and then we go in and we do the airbrush accents to match the spotting on the belly, the stripes on the back, and stuff like that. But a lot of the little staining and things like that is done by hand. We want to catch all the wrinkles. We want to make that stuff pop.
Tom, we need to work out a way for you to, we need to have you put together some like Regal Robot like flyers that say congratulations, you won a raffle. Yeah, and we can send it to people that need it.
That's excellent.
That'd be fantastic.
It's a great
Dude, he
idea.
sits really well. Like, look at him. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he's perfectly seated here. So, I mean, and again, you can lift him, and let's say you didn't want to
You
show
can zoom off to the side. As long as
Yeah.
that top foot is still touching, you're stable. And
Yeah.
Which
honestly,
this
even
is
if
kinda
that
cool,
overhang
too,
hung
because-
was- I like him
right
off
here-
to the side.
Yeah, so the curve here rests very well
Yeah,
on the edge.
that's cool. That's
and
really
then
cool.
this comes down and sort of secures him a little bit more. Let me see if I can.
I like him that way, man. Yeah, we were messing with him the other day, trying a few different angles, and it was like,
That's
this
awesome.
really works from other directions. So,
Oh yeah, look at
there's
that.
some-
There's again, just for people to get that idea of the sort of like,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of old,
yeah, gnarly
decrepit,
old
sort of
man
creeper
hands,
type. Yeah,
swollen knuckles, and all of that.
hasn't cut fingernails, and
That's
you know, even underneath they kind of like indent a little bit, so you can tell they're really funky and just covered. with-
That's cool, man. That's cool.
You definitely don't want him scratching you.
no.
No, you're getting
So-
hepatitis.
He's got old man skin.
That's right. There's, it's funny. One
Get
of
in
the
there,
guys,
Chris.
What was that?
Because we're
I was saying, get in there, Chris. He's getting the thing put together. I love it.
So I'm gonna insert the arm real quick, and Tom, if you want to just sort of reiterate real quick.
Yep.
So we have a peg here.
Yep.
So for anybody who's concerned, it isn't just a piece of resin by itself. It's actually got, if I'm correct, a little bit of
There's
metal
metal
coming
running through the center of that. Correct.
Okay. So this way it allows to give just, if needed, you can give it a little bit of push, right, as you're pegging it in.
Exactly. Yeah, it's got a little bit of flex to it, and it'll go down on an angle. So it's especially on that right arm, it's pretty much straight down, and it's just about making sure that you don't catch the fabric of the fur underneath it as it gets into place. The arms are a nice snug fit too. So
Tom, was this made out of the same material that the Rancor was made out of?
it is a poly resin, not polystone.
Okay, yeah.
And it's cast a little differently than the Rancor because of the fact that we're doing individual pieces. We're able to do sections of it completely solid. So the arms are solid, the tail is solid, the legs are solid. The body is cast to a relatively even thickness. I want to say about a 1/4 inch thick all the way around.
Okay.
But yeah, it is polyresin, and it's that means it's got a little bit of flexibility to it. It's not like that polystone like you get overseas.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just pegged the arm in, and as I pointed out earlier, that little lip with the fabric is.
Yeah.
So the fabric doesn't lift all the way around. There's just one little section here where it's
intentionally left loose right around the shoulder,
Yep.
so it lifts up and hangs on top of the shoulder.
And it is a snug fit. I felt comfortable giving it a little bit of pressure. There was no concern of it, coming undone or snapping in any way. And then it actually does well where the fabric just rests over it and really hides where you peg it in pretty good.
And that's something.
This is magnificent.
The real puppet has the fur glued to the tops of the arms. So what we did here is we had the fur glue around, and it's a pattern fur with a fabric back, and we just left the backing loose right around that arm, so you could lift it up, snip the arm in, and then drop the fur right back on it. Yeah,
I mean, as
more
people
of
can
that
see,
crazy
this
skin.
is not. It's not small by any means. I mean,
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, scaled to the old version of it, the 2008 Sideshow one, this is, theirs is, again, I absolutely love that piece. But it's an interpretation of the character, not a prop replica. And scale-wise, it's a little on the small side. This, we went in, we measured, we measured every inch of that real puppet. And every step that we took on this was to make it as close to that original puppet and as he was in 1983 as we could. Tony is an amazing sculptor, and he's always going to want to improve stuff because that's the way artists are. It's like he sculpted this a few times now. So he sculpted them for Return of the Jedi. He did that Sideshow 1 years ago. He sculpted the ones for The Mandalorian. And now he's doing ours, and he's like, well, wouldn't it be fun to do this with him? Or how about this? And I was like, nope, we got to pull it back. Just what you see, pal, and we really together went through a lot of careful scrutiny to make sure that what we were doing was true to that original puppet, and that everything we did was, you know, as close as we could get wrinkle for wrinkle on that real thing.
Yeah, I can't help but laugh with it. Just looks, he looks so awesome, and just the character itself is so ridiculous that I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, Chris, that one goes down. It should be resting on his knee, so that'll give you an idea of the angle. And it's just, down on a slight angle.
So I'd say, Chris, as you're doing that, you'll notice too. So I'd say anybody that will be, you know, purchasing one of these once the release drops or receiving one soon, the one thing you do want to do is just take a little bit of time, as Tom mentioned, just so you don't catch the fabric. Yeah. I mean, it's not difficult by any means, but where this pegs in with the bolts as well as the tail, this just slides in, you know, sort of keys in very nice, very firm.
So you just don't want to. You don't want to have any compromise with the fabric being
exactly where you don't want to get too
comfortable. You don't want to get because this lips up. You don't want to get too comfortable and tug too much. I mean, there's some give here you can see, and it's not affecting the glue part. But then once it's in, I mean, it's not moving. I mean, neither of these arms are really, unless they give some force.
You have to actually work the flap. You know, as you're pushing it in, just like keep pulling on it so that it doesn't get caught underneath and just like
it does want to get in between there.
It just looks so ridiculous.
And those arms are pretty
snug. I like the angle.
We're actually, you know, we might do a little sanding pass on the pegs for the production run, because I feel like this first wave, those arms are real snug. But that's the sort of stuff that we, you know, will look at and adjust. And look, I'd rather they were too snug than too loose. You know, that's the
and so that people understand, like, because this is a commission, when this goes into like the run, you guys might make some very minor adjustments.
I'm sure there'll be some, but it's for the most part, this knock on wood, you know, these first 6 went very smoothly, and
that's great.
You know, the production that, you know, we were looking for on this, the paint that I designed on it, it all flowed really well. And the one change that we made actually during this that we are bringing into the production is the removable ears, and that was just, you know, to address the biggest possibility for shipping breakage and pull that out of the equation. And the thing that had me do it was when we did a test on it and we said, you know what, we can do this in a way that really minimizes those seams, all things considered. Each one of them, the peg kind of guides you in. One of them slides more downward and one of them slides a little more sideways.
So it looks like the right slides more.
His right slides downward and his left sort of goes crossways. But you'll notice, and I'm sure it'll bring close to the camera, the seams on those ears are not offensive at all, and it's certainly worth any trade-off in terms of getting them to folks safe. So
I was literally gonna say, Tom, not to interrupt, but that's what I was about to say was once they're in, you almost can't, like, you literally can't see.
You just kind of forget it. I'll give credit to Maria on that. She sculpted the ear joint when we did the redo, and we just kind of, you know, blended it in with a series of wrinkles.
Yeah, it looks good.
And, you know, they're there, but it's not any kind of big offensive joint. And again, the goal of getting these to people safely is so important. He looks like he's about to just have a what do you call it? Ventriloquist act.
That's awesome.
I want people to get a peek at his eyes. That's the thing. I want to see if I can kind of.
So those are actually made by a taxidermy company, and they're made just exactly the same way as the original prop eyes are. They've got the same layers of color. They're the same size exactly. And we actually had them made before we even started the sculpture, because I wanted Tony to have a pair of those in the sculpt to make sure that everything was going to line up. And
so these are glass eyes, right, Tom?
They are, and they're actually not easy to get into a sculpture like that. So
Zizi says donations.
Oh, jeez,
that's so funny.
Sorry about the like, as I'm just. Yeah, you can almost see like if the pupil's dilated, it's got the multiple colors. So he's got the black pupil, he's got about 2 shades of brown and the yellow.
Mhm.
And it's underneath.
And then the
so
black ring
it looks like a
as
real,
well.
the black ring, yeah. So it looks like a real, yeah. You see the black ring around where the bloodshot
it's
part
kind
of
of
the human eye
loosely
would be.
based on like an owl eye, I think, or something like that. I don't know that that's exactly what they used at the time, but it has the feel of like some sort of yellow owl.
So cool.
To me,
Even the way the eyelid, especially on the right side, rests over the eye. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and they're
tough,
asymmetrical, his eyes. So, he's got an asymmetrical brow, and then each of the eyes has a different lid. One of them, his left eye, barely has any upper lid, and that's the way it is on the puppet. That's the way it always was, even in the vintage photos. Hey, look at that.
Chris, what do you think?
That's fucking insane.
Yeah, but what do you really think?
Yeah, exactly.
Freaking unbelievably lifelike, and it almost looks like you could stick your hand in and do a puppet show. It's that. It looks like it does not look like a statue.
This is unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, the skin is just so. It looks like old people's skin. Like how. Oh, it's just unreal. I can't believe how awesome this is.
I like that you can move it around on the base. I like that you can sit it sideways. You can sit it, and anybody, a couple of the questions was, how does he, sit or peg or stay secure to the base? I mean, he isn't going anywhere. As you can see in Chris's image, he's pretty bulbous in his chubby little belly and his behinds. I mean, he's not going anywhere.
Spine.
Look at his hunch. It's like
little spine, dude. I love it.
hunched over. It's
Give us that side view again, Chris. His right side. Yeah, rotate back towards you a little bit. This is my favorite angle on him. As you get to this side, even a little further, you can really see the body attitude that Tony put into this. It's hunched forward. The chest is resting on top of the belly and squishing into it. The neck is leaning forward. He's looking a little off to one side. He's not dead center with his face. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in this pose. And Tony, to his credit, this is all him. Yeah, that wrinkle kills me because that's exactly how a fabricated latex piece folds up, but he did it in clay.
That's how people.
Yeah, it's like a muffin top. Muffin top.
You can see it on
muffin
both.
top. Yeah.
So Chris, too, if you look on the other end, I know it's hard for you guys to see, but there's an area right here where it folds like a puppet would fold.
Yeah, that's what he's just talking about. Yeah.
It's got like a little. Yeah, it's got like a little. Yeah, and another concern, I think, again, it's really different to have this in person, where some of the images that were shown, or even on Sideshow, was the color. But the color on him it's really, you have various shades. It's pretty drastic, and I think initially, right, Matt, some people had thought like he matched very close to the color of the base, which you could see now. It's
you can see it's different.
Difference.
Yeah, it's very different. And just so everyone knows, I'll be unboxing him whenever when I get him, when I'm able to. So my guess is I'll be able to show a little bit closer some of the details and maybe some of the color a little bit different.
Yeah.
But this looks fantastic. This looks crazy.
The messier the hair, the better.
Yes, 100%. Especially his shoulder fluff, just mess him up. It's funny that you mentioned the base. Our photo master on the base turned out different than our paint master, and it is a little warmer. It's definitely not his color tone at all. But the Photomaster base is ever so slightly warmer than the ones you guys got, and that's intentional. I shifted away from the warmth, and I felt like this new paint matches Jabba's dais ever so slightly better. But it's a subtle difference. Like we're talking, it's here to here in terms of that color. It's not like a 180. But
I think that's part of the difference of having it in person, is being able to see the variations.
Even in person with the other base, it's totally different. It's nowhere near his color. It's just a little warmer. It's the same. It's literally, we just changed the brown drips to a slightly cooler brown. Everything else about it is the same as the Photomaster. So again, not a huge difference, but it does make a nice difference.
At the risk of sounding cheesy, the base alone is a work of art in and of itself. It looks,
it's nice.
The cracks and indentation of wear and tear, it looks organic. It looks real.
Jason, we have one question here. Was silicone ever considered more of a puppet feel, Tom?
There's a lot of complications that come out of doing a piece like this silicone. The first of which, here's the thing I think about when I think silicone. Think about the episode 1 Yoda versus the original puppet Yoda. Episode 1 Yoda was silicone. Episode 5 Yoda is foam latex puppet, which is a non-translucent material. So right there is an issue. Now you can do silicone where it is painted in an opaque manner, or it's a cast in an opaque manner. But silicone isn't ideal for a puppet like this. Silicone is super heavy. The original puppet weighs almost nothing. So if you had this with this rough same amount of material done in silicone, it would actually be heavier than this piece is.
Right.
And it doesn't support itself well. It doesn't hold its own weight. It would just be, and silicone.
Well, how long? Yeah. How long will it? How long will it last? Like, how long does it?
Not very.
It depends
long.
on the type of silicone. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, there's stuff that lasts, but there is definitely a concern with that. If we had done, let's say, slip latex or whatever, look, we restore for the Lucasfilm archives. We've seen, what these pieces from '83 look like. There's a reason that we stick to resin on our replicas. We want to make stuff that's going to last as long as possible, and resin gives us the ability. Look, if you sculpt it right and if you paint it right, resin starts to look like skin. Resin starts to look like the material it is.
Right.
If you're talking human skin and you're doing like a wax figure, great. Silicone's fantastic. When you're replicating an opaque piece, you use an opaque material, and in this case, a nice long-lasting one like polyresin.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another question. Sean's asking, is he bottom heavy to help him stay seated?
Yes.
Yeah, he is quite a bit.
Okay.
He's not that light, but you can lift him, but this takes a little bit of,
A lot of that weight is the legs. Those legs together are about 4 pounds, so there's your bottom weight. He stands on his own. When we do the painting on him, even with the arms in, he stands fine just sitting on his butt. But as soon as you put the 2 legs and then the tail, that's 5+ pounds of additional weight there. So he's pretty stable.
Nice.
Plus the legs really position, they go against the block, so it stops it. It doesn't let it.
You can see here, Chris. You're right. So you can see here how flat it rests. There's no space.
The foot.
I can't even put my finger in there. It's
the
resting
foot has
directly
a
on.
flat spot right there to keep it flat on there.
The skin is mashed against it. That was intentional.
You guys are asking what I would love to know is where are you guys planning to display him? Anyone plan on putting him at a higher plane of a room?
I'm going to put him on a higher pedestal right above my ranker. The ranker is going to be on a slightly lower pedestal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I'm putting him back there, I think, like back there. So
Grim Reaper Chewy.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling Tom, I was like, man, I gotta find something because he's gonna be in darkness back there. I gotta find a way to light these things up back there, man. Freaking frustrating.
If you only knew an electrician.
These guys are they're like the QVC host, just moving the thing, turning it, fluffing it.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
And one of the nicer additions to most of Tom's pieces, or Regal Robot's pieces, I should say, is the signature plaque. And you have both Tom. Sorry, the joke.
So it's
Tom
Tony
and
McVeigh and Tim Rose.
Tony McVeigh and Tim Rose. These guys confused me after the sideshow thing. They kept saying.
I know.
It became an inside joke that it stuck in my head. But
So Tony McVeigh, who sculpted it both for the movie and sculpted our replica, and then Tim Rose, who played the character in the movie, did the actual puppeteering and coined the phrase "Hey Edgar" in the behind-the-scenes stuff that inspired us so much.
That's so cool, man.
It's a really
what
nice
I like
plaque.
about these two. It is, for me at least, and I think a number of other people, I like that it has a continuity to master replica pieces, at least the black piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
so when you're displaying it, and
I really like the
double
leather.
signature.
Let's see yours. Let's see your plaque, Chris. Do you have your plaque?
Yeah, I really like the leather. That is such a nice touch. It just adds so much to it.
Tom, are we ever going to be allowed? Do you know when? Are we allowed to show ever the making of pictures that you sent out to us? Is that ever a possibility?
It's stuff that we have to go through some approvals on.
Okay.
Sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, no worries. I
love showing that stuff where I can. We
cool.
always try for it.
It's so cool.
What was really cool, Tom, was when we saw pictures. He was flat gray, and then his eyes just stood out.
And that's because we use the real eyes in the sculpt.
Mm-hmm.
And so even just in flat gray clay, or in, when you go black and white, because maybe you've got some multicolored clay happening, because sometimes you'll use different colors for different parts because you're using different densities, or you'll even go ahead and, I think at one point Tony actually cast a pair of ears so they could work those into it to start working out the connection points and stuff. And but always having those real eyes in there really helps give the clay sculpture life, and it makes you're on the right track versus trying to feel it out with either dummy eyes or just hand sculpted eyes. We also needed, on the engineering side, we needed those exact eyes to fit in the final product, and we needed to come up with a way to use glass eyes on a resin piece where we maybe couldn't get in there and Dremel out from the inside. So we figured all that out, and I'm really proud of what we came up with on it. And it looks like you guys both kind of approve as you're staring into his eyes.
Well, his tongue even has a little bit of texture to it.
I don't even look inside his mouth.
Yeah. It's almost got like that cat tongue surface.
Just a very subtle texture, yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very mild, but with the paint and the way it's done.
It's enough that like the little overspray catches it as you're doing the various browns and the blacks with the airbrush. We try and darken inside that mouth a little bit. You don't want them to look like, even the real puppet does have a fairly bright color in her mouth. On a static replica like this, you don't want that jumping out at you. So, you start off with your muted pinkish color, then you go in with some browns, then you go in with a little black overspray, and you just try and settle all that down so that the tongue isn't just jumping out like Barbie pink at you.
I gotta say, when I mean, you remember when I came up to pick up Chewy?
Yeah.
I had my sons with me, and we spent how long in your office just looking at the Ranker? Like
quite a while. Yeah,
a long time. And I was blown away by the Ranker, but I gotta say, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you did it, but we didn't think you could top the Ranker, but you may just have done that. Like it's just
that means a lot.
My favorite
looks
is
amazing.
The flat color on the skin. I love that. I do.
And I just want to say, Tom, I appreciate you and Regal Robot, and just the way you guys take commissions, to be honest, because not everyone does that, and to be able to do that and turn it into something that other people can get, I think it's awesome. Like I can't take credit for any of this stuff because I was gracious enough to jump on this thing towards the end of the commission, and I'm happy I was able to. But that said, it is cool that it is possible. And that things like this can happen, and it's something that normally on its own that would cost a crazy amount of money to make can be split up or whatever into and actually come to life. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. No, and I'm grateful that people come to us for that stuff. It gives us the motivation to put things in places where maybe they weren't going to be in our schedule. I think there's there's so much we want to do.
Of course.
You know what I mean? It's like there's no commission anybody's going to come to us. Look, we put out CZ3 for crying out loud. There's no commission. Someone's going to come up to us and say, like, hey, how about this? That is going to not be something that's on my list somewhere already.
Well, Tom,
although now that I've said that, one guy did that, and that was a fellow named Chris came to us to do the Bib Fortuna concept, the Ralph McQuarrie concept Bib Fortuna that we did as a true one-off for him.
With the top hat.
And that really was one of those few ones where I was just like, well, look, I would love to do that, but there's no way we're doing a run of these. Nobody's ever going to go for that. And it's a complicated piece.
The guy,
Yeah,
the one
with the
with the
big
top hat.
orange hat and
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
that.
Well,
That's
how high on the list is the one that I talked to you about? Like,
I mean, it's up there. It's up
it's
there.
up there. Okay.
There's it's definitely actually pretty high on there, and it's sort of been there. But
Good.
you know, what sometimes happens is someone wants to commission something, or it gets a bunch of people together, and then it can, you know, to have us say, well, look, if these guys are ready to go on it, this element is just about ready on it. Maybe we can make this work, and we move that wherever. Because I also think, you know, this stuff isn't just on my list. This is on collectors' lists. You know, the wonderful thing about Star Wars is all of these crazy, groovy background characters that we all fell in love with. You know, I mentioned F-Mon before. I've had people ask us about making a life-sized F-Mon. That's the sort of stuff. You know, Boosh helmet, or how about you know, a C-3PO head with his eyeball hanging out?
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah,
That's been talking about
Put it in
that.
his lap. But there are people out there who love every character in Star Wars. We could go through the Cantina, Jabba's Palace, the bounty hunters, you know, let alone things like the Space Slug, or, you know, any of this other random creature stuff, Wampa, Tusken Raiders, Jawas, all of that stuff. There's people ready to absorb that into their collection. There's people who want to bring those home. So, you know, there's no shortage of inspiration. There's no shortage of what people would like to bring home. I don't feel like there's a lot of these companies that have to be so in tune with what's coming out, what movie is going to be hot, what TV show is coming out. We're so lucky that we can just we can do that stuff if we want, but we really love to play in the classics, and we love to sit there and say, you know, what's just something we think would be cool to do, because there's no wrong time to put out a yak face head, or you know, whatever. Like, you can do that anytime.
And Tom, let's be honest, everyone else does all the other stuff, right? Like there's a lot of people playing in the other things, and so like you guys make stuff from what I can tell so far. You guys make stuff that nobody else makes, and that's fantastic.
Well,
that's what we want. Yeah,
100%. And it's also because it's what I personally love.
Yeah,
you know, it's like that chess set. Oh my God. You know, like just the opportunity to mess around with that was great, and then to be able to put it out there. CZ3, my favorite droid. You know, cards on the table.
I still think that was one of the best things when I first visited you and the CZ3 was starting to make its rounds. Tom literally, quote unquote, and I verbatim was like, "Well, who doesn't want a CZ3?" And I was like, "This is the guy to go to right here." I'm like, "He is the Star Wars guy to go to."
But Tom, you sold out a CZ3. Congratulations!
Yeah,
congrats.
That's it. They were all gone now.
Fantastic.
You know, and that's the cool. That just kind of proves my point. You know, there's a home for all of this stuff. So I'm not in. Oh, Cece, thank you. I think it was Jason that said something.
Yeah,
like
Jason
that.
did say that. Yeah,
and that's what we're trying to do. You know, we go to the archives regularly. We scan stuff there. We photograph stuff. We measure stuff. We get our hands on the real stuff, so that when we're putting our hands into making the replicas, we can make sure that we're doing this as close to the real deal as we can. You know, with the Jawas, we were taking patterns right off the real costumes. You know, all kinds of stuff like that, where we're really getting in there, and we want to make sure that we're as faithful to that real stuff as we can, because that's what I personally would want in this stuff. You know, I'm very lucky in that other people are along for this ride. You know, if I was literally just making this stuff for myself, I'd be happy. That other people are on board with it, even better.
Yeah.
This is unreal. The spine right here.
Yeah, the spine. Aaron's got a point. If you can sell something in the middle of a pandemic, then you got a good product, and that's true. That is true.
You know, collectibles overall are doing well in the.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, we thought the
people
opposite.
Aren't taking vacations, and they're managing to convince us. Well, look, you know, if we can't go on vacation, I might as well bring.
It's crazy. It's crazy. We didn't think this was going to happen either, but
yeah, we thought there'd be people wholesaling their collections.
Yeah.
It really has been like the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. We honestly, and no disrespect, but we honestly thought when this hit, unfortunately, things would happen and collections would be right to the picking. And it really was the opposite. Things started going up in price. Things were becoming harder to obtain. And it was almost like a free-for-all argument for himself, trying to get some pieces.
Tom, have you noticed? Have you noticed? Is it harder to get materials, things like that? Is it? It's got to be right now.
Yeah. We have hit shortages just about everywhere. You know, we do a lot of acrylic cases and things like that too. We have a couple of vendors we work with, and you know, every one of those acrylic companies ran into shortages because everybody's using acrylic for sneeze guards and you know barriers and things like that.
Oh wow!
So almost immediately the cost of our acrylic cases jumped up. The time frames on those jumped way up. Time frames on millwork and on things like our cafe tables went up. And in fact, actually, you know what? This was nice segue. Thanks for reminding me to talk about this. If anybody's ever looked at our cafe tables, like the ones with the hollow chest logo on it, or the Boba Fett emblem, or the Death Star counter downer thingy, you know, that's the official technical name for that. Those tables are all going to be going up in price starting October 1st. And it's actually a price increase that's already hit, but we tried to delay it a little bit for folks. So if you've ever thought about picking up one of those tables, now's a really good time to get it. It's not a huge increase, but it's something that unfortunately we have to do. And we've hit price increases everywhere. We've hit delays everywhere, raw materials, resins, foams, you name it, fabrics. I mean, it's pretty far reaching.
Chris is asking, did this go for pre-order yet?
So when do we expect?
At
August
12 noon Eastern.
August 24th?
August 24th. Yep, it should be Tuesday at 12 noon. That's the planned on sale date.
Hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
How many are you making? We're
doing 150. We're trying to react to people's requests and needs. We always set a very small number aside for our wholesalers, and everything else, you know, the vast majority of what we do sells direct through our site. With the Rancor, that sold out, I think, in 36 hours. With the Hollow Chest Signature set, that sold out in 36 minutes. So the Hollow Chest set was 77 pieces. We figured Salacious is a much more popular character than that. Let's give more people the opportunity. I don't need a 36-minute sellout. I don't want a 36-minute.
Well, take bets.
I like when stuff sells out, but like CZ3 hung out for a while. People had a chance to get that. I love that. And if we can get Salacious to hang out on site a few weeks so that everybody who wants one has a chance to get one, so be it. Yeah, that's great.
It's not going to happen.
No.
And just a quick disclaimer: the Jabba Dungeon smell is not included. So
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's
I hear what you're saying, Tom. It's one of those things now, right? The hard part is the more you come out with amazing things, the more they sell out, the more people realize, okay, if I don't get on this, I'm going to miss out. And so it is what it is.
And even with CZ, where he was on that site for a few months, I mean, he might have even been there a year. The numbered edition, the signature edition sold out like that. That was like 5 or 7 minutes. It was ridiculous. Right. But the numbered edition hung out for a long time. But when it got down to about 10 pieces, it went real fast. When people realized, like, ooh, you know what, that window is about to close. I'm going to sneak under there like Indiana Jones with the hat. You know,
exactly.
I'm in. You know, and so, look, I'm hopeful that it does last a little bit. I really do want people to have a chance at it. And we're doing. They all do come with the signature plaque, Sean. It is a dual signature. Every
you guys show the plaque.
We had them all signed already. So, you know,
so we have the original sculptor, and then we have the original puppeteer invoice, or just puppeteer?
Just the puppeteer.
Okay, puppeteer, and then so the original sculptor from the movie, and then the puppeteer from the movie.
Correct, and the sculptor of this replica, which is a nice double bonus there.
Yeah, and the sculptor of the replica as well. Yeah.
And so I
gotta say, I really like the creator signatures. I mean, I get it's fantastic to have an actor signature, but when you have a piece like this, Like even with Tippett, having the creator signature, and I'm excited even about the chess set. That's a fantastic trio signature.
Thank you.
It's gonna be.
I was so happy we could do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, those are three really great guys, and I'm very, very lucky to know them all. And I wasn't sure, especially with Dennis, I didn't know if that was something he would jump in on, if he would be comfortable doing it. And I was so excited when he said yes. And you know, that's a plaque that makes me smile. That's a plaque that makes me
we don't see his name on much, if anything. Usually some of the like storyboard pieces and
maybe
things like that, but at best,
no, and that's what we try to do. You know, look, there are people who, like, I used to jokingly say, like, you know, I was a kid. Thank you, Jasper. When I was a kid, all my friends wanted to be Han Solo or Luke Skywalker, and I wanted to be Stuart Freeborn or Rick Baker. You know, like, that's not an exaggeration. Now, I didn't even know who Stuart Freeborn or Rick Baker were at that point, but, like, I knew I wanted to be the guy making the monster. I knew that I didn't need to play Star Wars. I needed to make Star Wars. Like, that was my drive. 3rd grade, I was setting up cameras in the basement and building a Jabba the Hutt puppet because I was going to shoot Jabba's, you know, throne room in my basement. Like, I was sure of this at 10, you know? So that's that drive is still the same now. And that's where this whole idea of, like, let's celebrate the creators. Let's celebrate the people that brought these monsters to life, that inspired me so much. I would watch, you know, classic creatures, making of Return of the Jedi. I would watch from Star Wars to Jedi, the making of a saga, endlessly to see the shots of Phil Tippett's monster shop in there, and to just get a peek and try and figure out what the heck they were doing in there, because that was magic happening. And to be able to now call on them and have them be a part of these editions, Tony sculpting on this one, Phil doing the digital with us on the chess pieces, to have them do their signatures on this stuff. I mean, it's amazing.
You know what's cool, Jason,
Gosh,
is
so sick.
Matt, put up both of them. Okay, put up Matt, Jason's and mine.
Okay,
He has his on a different angle, and it looks like a different puppet.
Hold on.
You know what I mean? Like, it looks like his face is thicker, but they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Can I even do that? Oh, I'm big. Hold on 1 second. I don't even know how to do this.
That's okay.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you.
But I know what you're saying, Chris. So yeah, I have mine on the angle. And what's
you're looking kind of up at him, so he looks a little.
Well,
wider.
and I really
and
like.
He's at the edge of a wider lens, so he's going to stretch as you get closer to the edge.
I know. I keep turning him towards me to play with his hair, and I apologize. I'm just kind of losing. I'm kind of like getting in the zone with him, but I do like that even at the angle, he's still with his both feet rest perfectly against this end.
Yeah.
Tom, you know, I do a lot of pedestals, and I think initially my intention was to also remove him from this, place him on a pedestal, but I really like this so much that I might go with a much smaller,
shorter
wider
one, and then
pedestal
add on top of it,
and keep this on top. Yeah, because even with the piece of leather, and it just gives so much more to the overall piece.
Let's talk about shipping, because Tom, you get this all the time. So
the shipping cost is going to be $99 each. Actual real shipping costs will be considerably more than $99 each, but that's what we're putting it on the site. We'll absorb the rest and pay, you know, the royalties and whatever on that. Unfortunately, we are not permitted to ship directly to Canada. We can, part of our licenses, we're only allowed to ship to a U.S. address.
Right.
We've had plenty of folks from other countries purchase stuff from us, so that they've always shipped to a U.S. address. We can't take orders from anyone, but the only address we're allowed to ship to are U.S. That does include like APOs or overseas military bases. It does include Puerto Rico and Guam, but beyond that, it's, you know, the 50 states, and that's just part of the game with licensing. Part of signing that contract is you tell them, you know, specifically where you're allowed to ship.
Yeah.
Can I point something out here? Like, okay, so I'm holding the base flat, and I am moving him, and he is
he's not
budging. He's not budging. He's
and you have it on a turntable,
rotating thing too.
Yeah. That's not
but
either.
I'm like tilting
or turntable,
and he's
whatever.
Whatever.
Rotating
rotating turntable.
Yeah, he's not budging.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah, his arms either. Like you can give it a little. I mean, not that you should, but you can give it a little force in there, ability moving the legs. It's very, very secure.
Thank you. We had a few people ask about that when we showed the PhotoMaster, and it's funny. I mean, I looked at Rob and I was like, having it here and having messed with it, I've never even considered pegging him onto the base because it doesn't feel like it needs it at all. And again, I wanted that freedom. I wanted people to be able to put them however they want, to put them on the back, put them on the front, put them on a shelf, sit them next to their life-size Jabba the Hutt that we do. These are a part of the run. These are the first 6 of that run of 150.
Cool. Yep, that makes sense.
I'm just using reference.
There you go. The one thing I noticed about that photo when we went to choose, we were choosing photos. I love. I mean, that's my favorite shot of Salacious of all time. Obviously, it always reminds me of the gum cards. But I think it was in the Blue Series, Return of the Jedi had this particular shot. Might have been red, but whatever. That photo has a heavy flash on it. You can see by the shadow behind him. So he's a little washed out. He's a little pale in that shot.
Yeah, you can tell, especially with this.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, look at that shadow, behind the foot and everything. But it's still a really good indicator of where his spots are and how his paint is and how much darkness he's got on his face and all of that. But it's one of those things where I, as much as I love that photo, I'm like, I hate using a flash photo next to our thing because they're not going to look exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys did a hell of a job.
This is
close
like
possible.
bat wings.
Good call.
Yeah.
And it may be hard to come across, but even though with this being the flash photography, if you just take a peek, you can see his ears, a little bit of redness in here. And you get the same thing with the coloring. So it may not be coming across on my camera, but the color here, there's a little bit more. Yeah,
that redness up by the vein of it, absolutely, that is there.
Kind of see it in here, a little bit in here. I mean, this is just I can't get over it.
Tom, what? So when you worked with Tony on the actual sculpt and like getting the positioning and how you wanted him to sit. How much did Tony say? Like, how much like was back and forth? Did Tony really want this specific pose versus like?
It was definitely a little bit of a back and forth. I came to him with a mock-up, just a very loose kind of photo mash of that photo that's on the COA mixed with a couple of other things because I knew we weren't going to be able to have the foot draping off the side and have the head of the gargoyle and all of this. Then it was going to be huge. So I started with that. Tony made actually a little mini one about this big to start. And I told him the proportion of the block versus the figure as a starting point. And so we did a little test, and then it was like, okay, we'll move this leg a little this way, move that leg a little that way, we'll straighten this, we'll hunch that. And it very quickly came together. It really, we picked a good starting point. Tony interpreted it really well and kind of gave it a little extra life. Tony did the Gamorrean maquette that we have. So he's the one who sculpted that for the movie, and that is direct lineage right to his original sculpt. Look at the hands on that thing. Tony Cipriano, different Tony, who sculpted the Jabba maquette that we did. When he saw the Gamorrean fighter maquette, he went, "That's a McVeigh sculpt." And I'm like, you think that's it? He's like, look at those hands. Those are McVeigh hands. And he's like obsessed. He's like, Tony does the best hands. So when it came time to do the big Salacious, I just let Tony do what he wanted with the hands and feet. And he gave them such gnarled energy and life. There's a little crossover in the toes on the left foot. And that was even, I think that was even on the maquette when we did it. But there's just this gnarled energy to all of it that just feels kind of, I don't know, craggy and old man, and kind of, he's got a little of the hunch forward, a little of the Monty Burns from The Simpsons kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
He has that feeling like the top of him is sinking into the bottom of him. Like everything has weight. Everything has that's all Tony stuff. That's just straight up brilliant sculpting. You know, you could have sculpted this character and gotten all those proportions, but still have no sense of weight. You know, the sense of weight is what comes from a good sculptor. And Tony is more than just a guy that, you know, did some movie monsters. He is a genuine artist. And you know, I put all of these guys, you know, Tippett, Baker, Beswick, John Berg, Lane Liska, all of these guys that, you know, oh gosh, Kirk Thatcher and Dave Carson, all the guys from Tippett's team for Return of the Jedi as well. All of those guys, I put them right up there with, you know, the sculptors of yore and you know, of days past, and they make art. There's no other way to say it. These monsters are art, and
it's crazy.
To give them a little bit of a spotlight in doing this stuff too makes me really happy.
Jasper, it almost looks like I said it today, Tom. It almost looks like you can see the hand going up in there, like just I don't know.
Thank you. Well, and that's, everybody says like, you know, oh, I didn't realize how big he was. It's like, well, if anybody's curious how big he is, put your hand out like this and say from here to here is his body and head, and then add long legs on top of that. You know, like that's how you figure out how big a puppet is.
It's like even right by the mouth, if you look, it's.
Thank you, Far From Death Star.
We're giving you a digital applause for
that's right back at you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Matt.
He's even got like scoliosis, which I mean, no offense to anybody, but he's got
got that little.
He's got that hunch over,
little just nubs.
It looks like it hurts. Yeah.
You know what else too? If you look on the back, there's an indication of rib on. There's an indication of the rib cage on either side on the back. There's like 3 little indications of ribs on either side. Of the spine.
you can see it right. It's hard with the arm. I wonder if I can kind of get it.
Well, it's like
right in here. Yeah.
It's further back, the one I'm thinking of. But if you go on either side of the spine, there's just right around there. Yeah, there.
Right here, you can see it too.
It's subtle.
It's kind of hard with the lighting, but you can see a little bit of like a rib cage here. Yeah,
almost
it's in
like
both
it's
sections.
In.
Right there.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I love. If
you know what else? You could. He's also. You can see his butt cheeks too. He's got butt cheeks.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah, you can see a little cheek. Yeah.
Nice little booty cheeks. I love it.
Chris, rotate back a little bit. I love. There's another thing. So give me just straight the back of his head. There's a few wrinkles right in the center back of his head behind that skull point there. Yeah, just above that. There's like a handful of.
Right here.
To me, they're like fall off wrinkles. Those are like, you know, you've gone over a firmer shape and now you're going into the softer area there and the material's bunched up. There's some really great stuff coming down. All that, those kind of like waterfall wrinkles coming off of when you transition from the sculpted piece on the puppet, the head, into the fabricated piece, the neck.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
It's like here's his skull, and then his skin is like laying on there, like
it's like there's something underneath there.
It's really cool.
Tony,
like the back of your wrist, right there.
Yeah.
Even the cheeks, Chris. You're noticing from behind how the cheeks look like they're drooping. Yeah. See that? Yeah. You got a very natural.
All the neck wrinkles are fantastic too. They just did a great job.
And we redid the neck actually. The initial pass Tony did, he kind of improved it a little too much, and I actually had him go back and mess it up a little more, especially right under the throat area, the dead center of it. I wanted to match the wrinkles on that real puppet. So there's some real kind of like, you know, wavy wrinkle stuff. Yeah, all in there. That we tried to match to the puppet, and it's, you know, the
Jason, they're calling you a vertebraist.
It's like Matt. It's like triple chin.
Yeah. Triple chin. Yeah, I just think that the wrinkles and the skin looks so good, and all the bumps on his face, like next to his eyes,
cracks.
like it's so cool.
Yeah,
you never
love
replica
that
that looks
lizard
like
skin on either side.
Yeah.
The sort of hexagon pattern sculpt there is super
and
fun.
all the warts really stand out.
Here's what I'll say: if you look like you need tetanus from a replica, you know it's done right. You know it's done right.
If you feel like you might have hepatitis after touching this guy, then that's exactly what you want.
He means the creature, not the Regal Robot replica, which is, I hope, guaranteed not to give anyone tetanus or hepatitis.
Matt,
Exactly.
Put it on. Put it on. See, look at the skin folds on his.
Oh, the elbow.
Yeah.
The elbow.
What do you call that?
Yeah.
Weenus.
That's right.
Yep.
They do call it that. And again, the weight in those wrinkles, they're flowing in the right direction. They're hanging over what's under it. It's a mark of a good sculptor, man.
Yeah.
You know what that is too? That's
those are intended to be the crinkling of the fabric and material as you're laying it over the form. The sort of the way they do a piece like this is they take latex and they run it on different materials and just do thin skins of it, and then they wrap it around the foam body that they make, and you just get all of these little puckers and things like that, and they're usually contact bonding it on, so when it sticks, it just sticks hard and it creates those little weird wavy wrinkles and things like that.
The wrinkles right there on his foot, like he's like
there's pressure.
Yeah, there's pressure there.
That's something that was partially there from the original sculpt, and then we put additional stuff in there for the engineering phase, and that's when we took that original sculpt, made our molds, made copies of those pieces, and then redid all of the keys to go from sculpting keys to production type keys. And then once we had those keys made, we now knew exactly where that foot was going to hit. So we went in with different epoxies and clays and actually built up that edge of the foot to look like there's weight on it and that it's pushing against that flat surface, because now we had the base, now we had the piece, we knew where everything was going to be, and we could adjust.
And Tom, another thing.
Someone's saying the statue has a slight flexibility because of the resin? Question mark. Like, is it?
Yeah,
it does. It's got a little bit of give, so you can give a little pressure safely. I
want to say it's like a 70 short. It's a polyurethane resin. It's not a very, very rigid resin. It's intentionally got a little flex to it. The tail, you can feel it in.
You know what?
And when we say this is 1:1 scale, Tom, I mean, you guys had, basically went through the archives and resources, and I think it measured the original Salacious quite extensively to make sure that every part of the body was
length of the tail, different bone lengths for each limb, finger lengths, distance between the eyes, snout, all of that stuff was measured.
And Tom, Sean's saying something actually really good that I think we should mention here is that you guys really did a great job in making sure people could actually display this thing in their collection, right? I mean, that's really smart. That like if the tail's just gone, I and I'll say this, I love CZ3 to death, is one of my favorites. But there's times where sometimes if you put them in the wrong place, you have to take the antenna off. It is what it is. You can't do anything about it.
And that's why we left that removable.
Right, exactly. But this is fantastic. Yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah, so we kept it so it still looked right. It still had the same feel as the original, but it changed. So the original design of that tail was actually supposed to come over his shoulder and around.
Quite a roundabout, right?
More space behind him. And so what we wound up doing was taking a resin cast of that, turning it to its side so that now the curve, instead of going up, went out. And we realized, like, okay, if we can bring it around this side, then we can bring it up here. So we redid the keys, we redid the connection, and that was, that's where we found it. And there's times where you just have to get it in front of you. We would look at it, we went back and forth, and Lucasfilm was okay with the tail. We were mixed on the tail. Tony liked the tail, and we just kept going back and forth. And we're like, and then when we got it, it's like, it's gonna have to sit too far from a wall. This is gonna be, it, and it was intruding. It did a weird. It was a cool pose, maybe for a miniature, but as a 1-to-1, that tail was jumping out at you, and it drew all your attention in. And so we needed a way to make it one where it wasn't going to stick out the back too far, and then two where it didn't draw all of your attention. And so, looking at various pictures, that's how we came up with this. We're like, okay, if it comes around this way, he often has it up and around over near his back, and knock on wood, everything came together pretty nicely. I think.
The fingers actually have like a pruning to them. The fingertips. Yeah, like he's been in this tub too long.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And the nails again with the indentation underneath. That's that, you know, not only great sculpting, but that what I always love about a creative, that obsessive compulsive. Sort of like what you do with Chewie's hair, all the layers and colors, you know. It's just that's fantastic. And just a quick rehash as we were assembling him. So one of the reasons for being able to peg the arms and bolt the legs was also for the convenience of if anything was to happen during shipping. Although it's proper packaging, very well protected, it's a lot easier to replace should that be an issue or
Absolutely.
concern.
Yep. Okay. Well, and we had someone who needed a replacement hand for a Rancor. A hand is a very easy thing. Send us the old hand, we'll send you a new one. And we only even got the old hand back because we wanted to match the paint. Something like this, if somebody's arm breaks a finger in shipping or something like that, send us the arm back, we send you a new arm. Somebody loses an ear or something like that in shipping, exactly.
Yeah,
that's all stuff that we can handle. But I also think it's that combination. Yeah, it makes it so much easier to deal with anything, any unfortunate shipping mishaps, and it makes it safer to ship in general. So win-win for sure.
Yeah.
Tom.
Here's a question, Tom.
The right person just has to ask. If you got the budget, we will build it, man.
Matt,
I would love to do that.
Matt, we're gonna put our money together and put it in my backyard.
Get
there you go.
here, dude.
Well, and there's multiple ways to approach that too, and for us, it would be it's the sort of thing we would probably do as a fabrication piece, where it really is built as a one-off. We carve these big foam theme props that we do stuff in theme parks and things, where you just take huge blocks of foam and you hand carve it until it looks like Jabba the Hutt.
Well, Tom, this is Chris's neighbor in real life, and so they could just put it in the both of their backyards. They could just share it.
Yeah, have them overlooking the pool. And you put instead of a diving board, you have a trap door.
A dais.
Are trying to butter up Linda to make an X-wing in the backyard.
Man!
I don't think she's gonna go for it, but
can you imagine?
If we built him a Jabba, would Chris have to wear the Ula costume?
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
I'll wear my slave Leia costume I got.
Well, I was gonna say everybody keeps saying, what about the 3PO head with the popped out eye with Salacious? Not a single person thought about slave Leia.
Well, someone said,
sure.
Yeah, you mean
is it just assumed?
Is it Starship Leia? What is it now? Is it? What are we?
It's Hutt Slayer Leia, and that's been that way for a while.
Oh, Hutt Slayer Leia. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
1-to-1 Starship Leia. Oh, that's so funny. I think
no comment.
No comment. Right. No, but this is, dude, Tom, congrats again, man, on another piece that is just
I don't know,
a work of art.
Keep saying it. How can you I know you're not trying to top this, but the next piece, it's gonna be it's better than the freaking Salacious. It's just crazy. I didn't think it would happen.
Thank you.
Tom, how does your
very, very hard at that.
How does your team feel about this? Are they over the moon about it?
Tracy at the studio, our bookkeeper, is obsessed with him.
Nice.
She actually had Christine made her a little mini one for her desk, and she's in love with it. Yeah. And she just keeps walking through, from go through the studio to the break room or something, and you just randomly hear "Oh, he's so cute!" And you're like, what is that?
She was gushing about her. She was gushing about her little CZ3 that she had, but she was even more about the little Salacious.
So how's this guy? She said, I usually don't go for the, because Christine makes the miniatures. Said I usually don't go for the 1-to-1s just because, but she said, I think I might actually fold and get, and I said, if you get the Salacious, that would be awesome.
Crazy.
I'll come into work one day. He'll be sitting at her desk, typing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Chris, I thank you greatly for that. It means a lot. I will pass that along to the crew as well. We really it's no small effort to try to outdo ourselves, and that's what we're trying to do. Every project, it's not even that we want to outdo ourselves. We just want to make each one as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah.
There's so many constraints when you're doing a licensed prop that, you have this massive process to get through. You've got approvals. You've got tons of expense and cost and things like that. And to be able to come through that on the other side with something that matches the vision that you had going in, to be able to come through with something that feels like the real prop when you look at it, that's like the greatest thing in the world. And it doesn't always happen. And it's just, I feel very, very lucky that I have the team I've got, that we get to work with the people we get to work with, and that, from Tony on down to, Maria and Pat at the studio, and Melissa and Ricky and Nina and Sam and all of those, there's more names, I'm skipping a bunch, but like all the people that had hands on this, Max did a bunch of work on this too. Every single person that touched this wants it to be great. And
you can see that, and that's the thing. I think, Tom, I know you always make it a point to give credit to the entire team for obvious reasons, but I think it's just, people are so used to seeing you as the face of Regal Robot, but, having the opportunity to visit, pick them up in person and talk to the team, and see some of the work being done, I got to say, really hats off to everybody who goes through there, because everybody has this sort of skill set that they excel at. Not that anybody's better than the other, but one person may be a perfectionist at this versus that, and
for sure,
strengths and touch, and to see him sort of go through and have each person, take what their strength is and apply it to the piece, I think is just a magnificent way of approaching something like this. And this is why, we had talked about this a few times when the Rancor came out. How do you top something like that? And again, not that it was intentional, but then you have this, and it's like, well, what next? How?
I think Salacious has a leg up, no pun intended, because of the character that comes through that sculpt. He has such energy and intensity in his eyes and all of that stuff that, it pops, and that's just built into it. So all we have to do is do that justice. And not overpaint it, not screw it up with a bunch of our own interpretation. We just be true to that prop. We be true to that puppet. We be true to the original piece that, to me, that thing in the archives that is so much, it's art history of our day. And to do that justice is all we ever want to do with this stuff. And I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. So many of us put a hand into it. And the cool thing is, the production run, these are the same exact people doing them. The same folks casting them, same folks doing the base paint, same folks doing the washes, same people doing the airbrush, etc. The eyes, the leather, all of it is exactly the same as that run is going to be. These are 100% production pieces. And it's not, you're not talking about a factory with 100 people painting Salacious Crumbs. You're talking about 4 or 5 people working on these at a time. So it's just, you've got to think about what we do differently than you do, I think, real mass-produced stuff.
Yeah, that's a big consideration, and it really tells for anybody who has Regal Robot pieces in hand. It shows. I think, look at what we've seen with the Rancor when it started hitting collections. People are still beside themselves, and I think when people see this, you're right. And I think it's a different connection to the character, and I think the character in and of itself, and the work and the aesthetic overall is just going to be another Grail piece. I have to say, it's definitely another Grail piece.
Thank you.
Look at the staining on the block here.
I really like the. I just think this is a fantastic.
And that's something that you see on Job as Deus. It's a lot of vertical staining, and we try to capture that same vibe. And I got hats off to Pat, who sculpted that base. He's been with me since 2011. Just super talented artist. One of these people you can literally throw anything at, whether it's restoration, fabrication, mannequins, fiberglass, sculpting, molding, etc. And this was a piece I was able to kind of hand to him with a little sketch and an idea of what I wanted, and he came back with something that knocked my socks off and just feels so right. You know, the crevices and cracks and things he came up with, it just feels like old stone.
It looks like actual. It does. It looks like actual stone with the cracks and.
Yeah.
You can really, Jason, on yours, you can really see those stains on the side there.
Yeah, I love the cracking on that, the left side and the back, and those like bigger breakout cracks and things like that there, where you have it's cracked, but then it's worn away on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
Masterful. You know, I'm not gonna. I'll break my arm patting Pat on the back, not myself.
No, that's really, really, really cool.
Even the way it chipped into the stone, you know.
And Tom, when did you guys actually think about, like, was the block something from the very, very beginning you thought of, or did it come later on, or like? That
was me. It was. I wanted to, you know, I had a sculpture teacher whose everything was about getting air under stuff. Everything was put a couple of dowels under it, lift it in the air, you know, and I knew the price range this was going to have to be. I went through the numbers. I said, this is what this is like. There's literally no way to get it any less than this and actually, you know, have this as work as a project.
Right.
And knowing that, I said, how do we present this? How do we make this, you know, feel important, feel like what it is, and give it, you know, to me, it's like, it integrates him into something. I don't know. It makes him just more than a character. It makes it this, it gives it like some context or something. You know,
yeah.
So from the beginning, I said, we got to put him on some sort of a base. And I really didn't want to do the Indian style legs. I really wanted that dangling leg. That is so key to that favorite photo of mine. And so it's like, if we're doing that, we got to put him on a pedestal. It's got to be about a foot tall. And so we wound up, I think it's a little under a foot tall and a little under a foot wide. It's about like an 11.5-inch cube that we wound up with. And it just, I mean, you know, it's one of these things that all comes together. It starts off just like, how do we get that leg to dangle? And it becomes this.
That's so cool. It's a great idea.
It's unreal.
Thank you. And, you know, you'll notice even the way the leather is put on there, so there's the 2 layers of leather, it's intentionally glued loose around the front. We didn't want it to have that look like it was, you know, satched on and just, and you know, 100% glued to it. So we actually put it on and then we buckle it up a little bit, let it fall naturally, and then just dab a couple drops of glue so that it's not hyper hard to the thing. It looks like it's just this natural dangly bit that's hanging over and it has a little air underneath it.
I love the different shapes of the leather.
Caleb's got a question that he's asking in the chat, but if you guys could have one, would you get the Chewy or the Crumb? And that's a tough one. That's a tough one, honestly. They're both so good. They really are. I mean, Chewy looks exactly like Chewbacca. Like it's crazy, man. I don't know how you would
make them decide.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, and let me throw this out there. Both.
Yeah, can you get them both?
No bird in this, you know. No, I got no dog in this hunt, but yeah, maybe both. I'm just suggesting.
Yeah.
It's out here. You know,
it's pretty cool, man. They both turn out so amazing, and you're still selling Chewy bust, right? Is that still?
Yeah, the big XL size bust that we do. We just did a run of about 12 or 13 of those. Like they did a little mini production run of them. I believe the last of those just sold like a week ago.
Okay.
So we're now gonna wait till we get a few more orders in, and then we'll start another little mini run of them.
Okay. Do you think that'll keep going, or do you think any ideas?
For a while, we don't. You know, when you get those pieces, it's funny. You know, I look back on that piece. It was probably pre-Rancor. It was definitely, it was well pre-Salacious. Our initial thinking was, you know, this is a $4,500 piece. People had already bought 50 of the other Chewy bust we did, the smaller bust. That was going to be something where we said, well, the price is going to dictate the limit. Rather than trying to come in and do a limited run in one shot, we said, you know what, this is a custom studio. Let's put something out there, because those original Chewies sold out so fast. Those sold in a few days. Let's make something that people are going to have a chance at, but the price is going to be such that it's going to effectively limit the audience to a degree.
Yeah.
And this was also pre-payment plan. And you know, looking back on it, if we had the payment plan at the time, and that Chewy is available with payment plan now, by the way, and we've even done an extended like 5 or 6 month one, so it's pretty good. But if we had the payment plan at the time, and knowing what we've done now with the hollow chest and with all of this stuff, we probably would have done it as a limited run of like 77 pieces or something and called it.
Yeah, right.
As it is, I don't know the number offhand. It's not 50 at this point, I don't think. It's definitely like 25 or 30 of them, but it's a very small number of those. And so, yeah, I don't have a specific date when we're going to end on those, but there will eventually probably be a day where we say, you know what, we'll take orders for another 2 months and then we'll call it quits on that one and we'll retire it for a bit. And if we do that, that'll go out through our mailing list. Anybody who's watching, jump on the mailing list. We only email like once a week, maybe if that.
And always great info and updates when it does come through. You don't get spammed, but when you do, it's great.
There might be an email going out tomorrow with some new pictures of Salacious.
Oh, there you go. Caleb rephrased his question, says, if your house is on fire, which one would you take? And Russell has a good response to this. He says, I'd die in the fire trying to That's so good.
There's knowing you, Russell.
Exactly. I don't know which one I'd grab, but I swear if you grab Chewy, he'd probably catch on fire as you're running out anyway. So you might as well grab.
That's true. Yeah, you got to think about that.
You've got 2 hands.
There's a lot of hairspray on that Chewy.
You got 2 hands. You can take them both.
Grab the pole under Chewy and grab right here. Stick your hand in the puppet.
You can,
or my real life children. You know,
we'll pretty well, like just right from the back of the neck. Like I find that we were doing a lot of this, and like
yeah, that's funny.
Oh, they'll last longer in the fire than these will.
And Benjamin's he's skating on thin ice.
Yeah, no, you don't want to answer that question.
His wife, this is his wife. So I don't. It's she's in the chat, so I mean, my goodness.
I think she just left Benjamin in the fire.
Yeah, I think so.
Careful what you wish for, buddy.
That's funny. Yeah, guys. I mean, we're coming to the end here. We just Tom, we're so appreciative of what you guys do, and thank you again for the opportunity to Chris and Jason live close enough to be able to pick it up, and that's really cool that they got to do that.
It is unbelievable to go to that shop. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm like he's talking. I'm looking over his shoulder at all the stuff that I could possibly see.
I don't know if you noticed, we rearranged the office.
I did, and I was trying to peek too.
The secret board is now very well hidden for when visitors.
I noticed that.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
I have to say, Tom, when you were showing my son the pictures of the dewback, I'm like this, looking like.
He's like trying to peek
behind the door.
Yeah.
I was doing
where'd the board go?
No, I knew it was there. I knew exactly where it was. I was just trying to keep
Rob and I looked at it. We're like, well, if we put it here, you'd see the edge of it, but that left edge is where the stuff that's just due to come out is. That's all announced already. So this is perfect. Just leave the door open if anybody comes in.
Oh, that's smart. So anything that's already been
anything you do see is already announced. I think like on that side right now, you got Jawas, you got Salacious, you got stuff that's literally either
exactly. So Rob's got it. So Rob just said you guys have the fake board up for visitors.
That's oh my god! We should totally do that.
That's actually, Rob. That's a great idea.
That's a good idea, actually.
Tomorrow, and we're gonna like fill it with just ridiculous things.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You guys are gonna come out.
Here's the problem.
Here's the problem.
That's a fun idea until those ridiculous things start becoming. Wait a minute, that's a great idea.
No, just make them all like Star Trek and like all this random stuff.
Like just other licenses.
Exactly.
The first thing that came to my mind somehow was like, we should put that we're doing a Jabba the Hutt functional tail replica that comes with a little and but that actually could work. Like someone would probably want that if we made it. Like this is the problem we run into. You almost can't get too ridiculous.
It's true.
When we left, my son asked me a question, though. He said, Is there an echo?
Sorry.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, my son asked me, does he only like make Star Wars stuff, or if somebody comes to you and wants something from Stargate, you
Right.
know, like, will you make that too?
Generally speaking, you know, when it comes to replica stuff, we stick to what we've got the license for right now. That's Star Wars. Through the other company, we do tons of restoration. We do tons of display work. We do a lot of work with license holders. So, you know, we've had people come to us for Ghostbusters stuff, Back to the Future stuff, Jurassic Park stuff. Those have all been for the license holders, whether it's, you know, or even things for the Disney parks, Marvel stuff. You know, those are all for those companies that already have those rights. Generally speaking, someone comes to us and says, hey, I want a replica, blah, 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 from some movie. That's not something we're going to jump in and do because we don't want to risk our license over it. You know,
Yeah, no kidding.
Disney doesn't want to see you doing unlicensed stuff, whether it's theirs or anybody else's.
Yeah.
You know, there's always the possibility that we'll look at other licenses in the future. It's certainly something we've thought about. I have my favorites list. Rob has his. But right now, we're a very small company. There's a lot of administrative type work that comes with getting a new contract with a new company and everything that goes with the behind the scenes of any license.
I imagine, yeah.
You know, this is the tip of the iceberg. Even the work in the studio is the tip of a huge iceberg of work that comes with every single thing we do. So, you know, realistically, it's about hours in the day. And honestly, I am very happy to play in Uncle George's sandbox for a long time.
No, sure.
So much source material.
If someone said I could only make, you know, one type of thing for the rest of my days, Star Wars monsters, done.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine.
There you go.
If someone said, you know, okay, you can make 3 or 4 things, well, then I'm going to start thinking about Ghostbusters. I'll start thinking about Universal monsters. I would love. There's you know, plenty of things. I don't want to. I'm not teasing anything. This is pure top of the head type stuff. But you know, maybe someday there's more for us. For right now, it's strictly Star Wars, especially for the custom commissions and stuff like that.
That's greatly appreciated by all of us. So
Thanks.
can't beat it.
Real quick, Tom, we had a couple of we got a friend over in I'll show you who's been watching the stream but not in the chat, and he just wanted to express his you know, just as like everybody else, his admiration for the work and the piece and whatnot, and
thank you.
You know, it's great that people, if they're not in the chat, you know, write in and share the kind words. So I just wanted to pass it along.
Very, very much appreciated. We love that.
And Kyle's saying, this is out already? What's going on?
So, yeah, we talked about it in the beginning. This was there was an initial custom commission for this, and that was what sparked the broader run. So the first handful of pieces are going to be delivered in the next few days. And then if you do want to get one yourself, you do still have the opportunity, which is real nice. So August 24th is when these are going to be available. And anybody that wants to pre-order one can do that. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss that, go to the Regal Robot website, scroll all the way to the bottom, and jump on the mailing list.
Absolutely.
We don't email a bunch of stuff, and in a week or two, you're going to get an email that says, hey, come order Salacious Crumb. He's ready to go. And if anyone wants details or pictures right now, go to the Regal news page. Go to the Regal website, hit the news button, and the top news entry should have some photos of them, all the details you need.
Yeah, and Tom, you do you know? Have you released? Do you have any ideas on payment plan? Not?
So that actually just went up tonight. It'll be part of tomorrow's email. We'll be sending folks to that news entry. Okay. We updated the existing entry with new photos, with more details. So it's going to be an 8-payment plan. So that means approximately $500 per payment over an 8-month period. You would have $500 down and then 7 payments after that.
Okay.
And those payments usually align with the turnaround time of when they start to ship. Give or take.
Exactly right.
It's approximate. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, our plan on these is we're saying spring and summer of 2022. We will obviously start as soon as we're able. And, you know, technically the molds are made and we've already started. There's every chance they actually hit a little earlier than that. But I try and time them. I like to time it with when those payment plans end, because I don't like to sit on a bunch of stuff either. We're a very small shop. We don't have a ton of space. I don't have room for 150 of these things to be sitting in the shop waiting for people's payments to be paid off.
Especially since you've got the chess set being created as well.
Exactly.
So, and the chess set coming out at the end of the year, beginning of next year? I can't remember when the
early 2022 is the goal on that.
Okay.
We already have a fair amount of production on those done, actually, and we have been casting and producing parts since that was put up for sale. There's 2 characters where we have almost all the pieces ready for paint. That would be all of them for all 77 sets, plus the few 2-packs that sold on that one. Yeah. There are others where, we've got a handful of them already in paint, and casting is just moving on a regular basis on all of them. So it's pretty cool. There's little armies of monsters are starting to come together on the table.
That's so cool, man.
I don't know if you guys noticed at the shop today, but there was a shelving unit filled with chess monsters. They were just in sort of base color, pale white and pale gray. But that shelf is getting pretty crowded. So I think
so cool.
I think my estimate is we're about 20 days away from those 2 particular ones being ready for paint and all produced. And then with the other ones, it's just little by little chipping away at them. And if we get ahead of January, we'll start shipping out to people who are paid in full.
Will the signature edition chess sets release first, or
that's the plan? But there's every possibility that some Salacious's sneak ahead of that.
I think he's talking about the chess set.
Compared to individual.
Oh, you mean compared to chess sets or compared to Salacious?
Yeah, right. No, chess sets compared. The signature editions compared to the normal other ones.
Those will probably ship at pretty similar times. Okay. I do think it's a good question. I would imagine all of the signature sets would ship first, but there's actually a possibility that we're going to have some of the 2-packs ready before some of the signature sets, because the signature sets require us to be done with all 10 characters to the same degree all the way across the board.
Yeah.
So there's every possibility that some of the 2-packs might ship just by nature of those particular characters being done. But I wouldn't be pulling away from 2-pack inventory to do that, from signature inventory to do that. I would probably only be doing that if we're talking about, let's say there's 77 in the signature set and we have, 30 or 40 of one of the 2-packs sold. You would then say, okay, well, we're past the 77, but we're still waiting on whoever for the signature sets. Let's take the overflow and let's start filling some of these 2-pack orders.
I got you. Yeah. And then any idea, can you even say anything about the edition size of the?
It's not, unfortunately I don't know it offhand.
Yeah.
It's in the neighborhood of, 25 to 40 pieces each on the individual 2-packs. And then the Body Slam one, I don't know the specific number. I want to say it's a little over 100, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Not huge numbers on them, which is it's about what we expected. And that was a really cool thing. We were able to do that timed edition. I felt like we left it up probably a little too long because it was just a little unmanageable in terms of getting the word out in an efficient way. But I was glad that we had something that sold out in 36 minutes. But people still had a second bite at the apple. Maybe it's not the exact same thing, but they had a way to bring the majority of that set, that original A New Hope 8 characters into their house and into their collections. And, even though it's a much smaller group of people ultimately will get those, I think that it worked out kind of nice, and it gave us a way to still keep the other edition really special, but not leave people hanging so bad, especially after that fast sellout.
Even just the option to get the Body Slam was really cool. I mean,
I love that. Oh gosh,
I know. It's so
Tony
cool.
Cipriano did the posing on that. And it's so fun.
Yeah, it's killer. Yeah, guys, I think we're good. Hey, Jason and Chris, any last words that you want to say about Salacious?
I mean, this thing is beyond reproach, and I just, I don't know. I mean, what can you say? It's amazing.
I don't know.
I'm beside myself. It's phenomenal.
Very good.
You
Really,
can't get
it's
any
a beautiful
better.
work of art.
It really couldn't be any better than it is. I look at it and I think it's honestly perfect for Salacious Crumb. You can't make a better Salacious than this.
It's got his attitude. It's got everything, and it's just
His mischief is right in his eyes.
It's fantastic.
You know, so,
I've been accused of that.
And I gotta say,
I gotta
I
say-
really love. Yeah, Chris.
I gotta say, if you're thinking of getting this, don't wait, because Tom's thinking it. You know, he's wanting it to stick around, but I'd be surprised if it sticks around one day. Like,
Yeah,
that ain't gonna
well,
happen.
and let's be fair. This isn't for everybody, and
Right.
Regal Robot stuff isn't for everybody, and that's totally fine. Neither is any company's thing for everybody. It's if it fits in your collection.
Our art and decor section.
Yeah, you have other stuff that sells.
$25 to $100. They're all
course.
there, tons of items. But
Of course.
something like this is a very different kind of thing to make. So
It's very unique. But that said, there will be 150 people that this fits perfectly in their collection. So I hope that I'm excited for everyone that gets it, that's able to jump on this. So everyone in the chat, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate your conversations and your questions and all that stuff. We appreciate you greatly. And Tom, thanks so much for your time. We know you're a busy man. So we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. Yeah, it was a good time. Guys, I think maybe sometime next week I will probably do another unboxing of this guy, just because it doesn't make any sense to not do that. It's a special piece, so I'll probably open it again, or open it on camera again, and we'll do another chat. Yeah. So August 24th, guys, keep an eye out. And I think that'll about do it. Appreciate everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.